Hey guys, I'm just going to review two movies really quickly right now. I just watched them one after another, and they both are kind of really, really strange and kind of fucked up, but I think that I just feel like telling people about it. It's two movies, one's old and one's a little bit newer. Altered States. This is a Ken Russell film from 1980. Ken Russell was the director of one of my favorite films, The Devils. So, and actually, this movie I'm going to get to in a sec. But then also I watched Imprint by Takashi Miike. It's part of the Masters of Horror series that was on Showtime. It was part of the first season, and actually this one was considered to be so disturbing it was banned from Showtime, of all places, and Showtime has Dexter on it, so that was pretty interesting. So that's what kind of drew me to it. The first movie I watched was Altered States. This movie was the first film that William Hurt starred in, and this was a pretty interesting film, to say the least. The whole point of the movie is that William Hurt's character is trying to discover new ways to unlock a combined consciousness that all of our cells have, and we have about the entire memory of human evolution in our cells, because our cells are so old and the atoms are so old and whatnot. So he's trying to figure out new ways of kind of hallucinogenic. He gets into an isolation tank, and he tries new ways to hallucinate to get to a point where he actually uncovers something, actually real. So then he goes to Mexico, and he discovers this really powerful hallucinogenic mushroom drug. I don't know if he's talking necessarily about shrooms, but it was interesting because also the director Ken Russell, during the production of this movie, he took mushrooms for the first time, or at least he did try mushrooms. I don't know if it was for the first time, but from what I read, it was. And he had a bad trip, and that's what helped him make this movie. And the tripping scenes are unbelievably weird. It's unbelievably disturbing, and considering how The Devils was, it's not too surprising that the weird imagery is in this. Ken Russell is also the director of Tommy, and so then it gets to a point where he's getting further and further back into a point where he starts genetically regressing to a previous form. But the thing is, as everyone else is finding it kind of like disturbing and whatnot, he's trying to push forward for it. And the acting is great. The music is unbelievably Ken Russell. It's unbelievably Ken Russell. It's just like The Devils. It's really booming and really absolutely bone-chilling. And also the special effects are pretty good. The visual effects are amazing. And actually, I didn't even know this until a friend told me about it. That's what got me to get the movie. Is that a scene from an episode of South Park actually features one of the final scenes in the movie of Altered States, when Cartman was kind of retrained by the dog whisperer character to be a good son, and when he kind of goes through this change, and that's taken directly from Altered States, and it's really interesting. This movie is really, really strange, as I said before, but it's really well made. I mean, Ken Russell is really a very, very good director. He's my second favorite surreal director. The first one being David Lynch. And alright, the second movie is Imprint, and this movie is beyond fucked up. But considering it's from Takashi Miike, who did Audition and Ichi the Killer, I'm not at all surprised that this movie is the way it is. It's completely deceitful how it is in the very beginning, and so I'm really was surprised by it and really disturbed by it. It stars Billy Drago in the main role, and I thought that was pretty cool because Billy Drago, I think, is a good actor, but he just doesn't have a lot of work. The only, or at least a lot of work that are really mainstream that I've seen, but I'm getting further into his filmography. The biggest things I remember him starring in that are at least the most prevalent in my mind, he had a reoccurring character on the show Charmed, and also he starred as Nitty in The Untouchables, which I thought was a great role for him. And so he comes back in this, and it's classic Billy Drago acting, and I love it. And but it's really disturbing. He's trying to find a concubine that he left back in Japan, and he decides that he's going to stay the night because the ferry can't leave for the morning, and it's already really strange. So, but then he picks out a girl from all of the prostitutes, or the geishas. He picks out a girl who's in the back, who's not trying to work at all. So, because she's kind of like in the shadows, and he comes to find out that she's deformed on half of her face, and he's trying to find a woman who he left before. Her name is Komomo, and he's trying to find her, and then she tells him that she ended up hanging herself about a half a year ago, and he flips out, and it's really good, actually. He does a really good job at this part, and the actress, I'm afraid I don't know her name, unfortunately, Yuki Koda, I'm terrible with Japanese names, unfortunately, but who plays the geisha who he's talking to, she does a really good job in the very beginning. She, this is kind of a bit of a spoiler, but the thing is, she is very deceiving. Her character is incredibly deceiving. I mean, from the moment off, I know that I'm trying to root for this girl, but then again, as the film goes on, it gets a little bit more and more disturbing as time goes on, but this movie kind of gets really, really disturbing really quickly in the last act of the movie. And there's a torture scene in it that is, I swear, it is literally right out of Audition and Ichi the Killer. It's right out of it. Komomo's character has these coals that are shoved under her armpits to sear her in her armpits, and then also she has it looks like acupuncture needles, but they're a lot thicker, and they were driven under her fingernails and into the gums in her mouth, and then she's suspended by one leg from a ceiling, and it's really, really disturbing the entire time. And it's like the scene where in Ichi the Killer, where the boss, I forget his name, he is suspended above the floor by hooks from the ceiling, and he has I believe burning, boiling water poured all over his back, all over his face, and at least really scarred. And you can definitely tell that Takashi Miike really did he was really trying to push the bounds of what he was trying to do. Actually, I believe he said that he was checking constantly for what the boundaries were, so he wasn't pushing past it, but I guess he underestimated it. And to be honest, I mean, this is one of the more disturbing Masters of Horror episodes that I've seen. I think the most disturbing one, besides this one has definitely got the top prize. The most disturbing one that I've seen besides that was actually the second season, and that was Dario Argento's film Pelts. And that movie was, very, very disturbing. But this one definitely takes the cake. The acting is great. The writing is actually very well done, and considering who wrote the teleplay, unfortunately I'm unable to pronounce his name correctly. I don't want to sound like a complete and total asshole, so I won't try it. But he wrote the screenplays for Audition, and also I believe 13 Assassins, the latest Takashi Miike movie that just came out. But these films are very, very well acted. I mean, actually, when it comes down to horror films, I usually kind of take acting with a grain of salt, because Dario Argento is one of my favorite horror directors, and Wes Craven is one of my favorite horror directors, and a lot of times the acting is really hokey or really bad in some of their movies, like especially in movies like Suspiria, and Suspiria is one of my all-time favorite horror films, and the acting can be so bad. No. Not in these two. The acting is really good, so that makes it even far more disturbing, because these people really get into their characters. And especially when it comes to Altered States, with the editing and the imagery, you are completely transported into this world. And Ken Russell is... He is truly a person who really does know how to make a really good surreal film, and also leave you with something besides just the surrealism. You can still take something away from the movie. Sometimes you can't do that with David Lynch. Sometimes you watch a movie like Lost Highway, and you just walk out of the movie like saying, "What the fuck was that about?" And you don't even want to bother going back to re-watch it. I mean, I've seen the movie about 14 times, but I'm still having problems with a lot of it. I don't think I'll ever figure it out. But this one, you definitely still get something away from it, regardless of whether or not that you like or want to try to understand any possible meaning behind the surreal imagery. But a great choice by a great director and a great cast. This one I only recommend to people who really have a strong constitution when it comes to horror films. I've even sat through Salò and Cannibal Holocaust, and this movie is still pretty disturbing. I mean, it definitely made me cringe like the entire way through, and there's plenty of times I wanted to turn it off. And I can understand why it was banned, even though I fucking hate censorship. I really wish this would have been aired. I think this probably would have, I don't know, doubled Showtime's ratings or something. But, yeah, definitely, if you are a horror fan, check this out. You can get it off of Netflix, and I believe Hulu also has it on there too, or else go out and buy a copy. The special features on it are really cool, including, like, there's an interview with Takashi Miike, and it's really interesting. He's just one hell of a great director, and I love his films. I'm trying to get as hold of as many as I can. And also, Ken Russell, great director. I'm not a huge fan of Tommy, but Altered States and The Devils, definitely check those out, because they're really great films.